Chapter 6.1.6 Rules for Listening. Shunaka said, O Sutta, O immensely wise one, O Sutta, you are Vyasa's disciple. I bow down before you. You are blessed. Your great qualities are such that you are described as Shiva's great devotee. Please tell me about the rules for listening to the illustrious Shiva Purana, whereby the listener can completely obtain all the excellent fruits. Sutta replied, O sage Shunaka, I will tell you about the rules for listening to Shiva Purana so that the complete fruits are obtained. The person must first invite a Daivajna and satisfy him. A pure and sanctified muhurta must be chosen for commencement so that it is completed without any impediments. News about this auspicious event's occurrence must be attentively sent to different regions so that Shiva's devotees who desire an auspicious objective can arrive. Women, Shudras, and some others are often kept at a distance from hearing about Hari's account or the chanting of Shankara's account. They should also arrive so that their understanding is kindled. In different regions, there are Shambhu's devotees who are eager to listen to his account being recited. They must be welcomed and lovingly invited to this event. There will thus be an assembly of virtuous people and great festivities. 71. There will be an extremely wonderful occasion with Shiva Purana being recited. Full of love, come and drink the nectar of the illustrious Shiva Purana. Full of love, please show us your compassion and come. If you do not have the time, full of love, come for at least a single day. This is a rare occasion. Under all circumstances, please do come, even if it is for a short while. In this way, full of humility and joy, they must be invited. Those who arrive must be affectionately welcomed in every possible way. Excellent places for listening to Shiva Purana are Shiva's temple, a tirtha, 72, a grove or a house. The ground must be purified, smeared, and decorated with minerals. On the occasion of the great festivity, there must be divine and wonderful decorations. The house must be cleaned. Everything not worthy must be kept in one corner of the house, so that it cannot be seen. A raised platform must be constructed, adorned with pillars made out of plantain trees. There must be fruits and flowers in abundance, and everything must be covered with a canopy. The four directions must be decorated with flags and banners. Every task must be undertaken with a great deal of affection, so that there is delight in everyone. One must think of a divine seat for Shankara, the Paramatman. The narrator must also be given a divine seat, one that is pleasant to sit on. As each one deserves, there must be agreeable spots for the listeners. 73. O sage, for ordinary people there must be other spots. Everything must bring pleasure to the mind, as is the case at the time of a marriage. O Shunaka, all other daily thoughts and worries must be set aside. The narrator will face the north, and the listeners will face the east. Know that the feet must never be placed in a contrary direction. 74. Alternatively, the narrator can face the east, seated between the worshipper and the worshipped. 75. Honored by the listeners, the narrator can also be seated so that he faces them. As long as he is seated in Vyasa's seat, narrating the Purana, the Brahmana 76 must never bow down to anyone else until the narration is complete. Whether he is a child, a youth, an old man, a poor person, or an excessively weak person, a person who knows the Purana must always be worshipped by anyone who desires to earn good merits. For embodied beings, the words that flow from his mouth are like a kamadhenu. 77. Therefore, a person who is inferior in intelligence must never become someone who knows the Purana. After many births, one obtains the qualities required to become a guru. Among all gurus, a person who knows the Purana is supreme and special. There are those who are suffering as a result of thousands of crores of births. If a person bestows emancipation on them, there can be no greater guru than him. A person who desires to recite Shiva Purana must be extremely intelligent. He must know the Purana. He must be pure and accomplished. He must be serene and must have conquered malice. He must be virtuous, full of compassion, and eloquent. It is only then that he can speak about this sacred account. The narration must begin at sunrise and continue for 3.5 praharas, who have crooked professions, or those who are contemptible in any other way. It must not be narrated in a place that is full of wicked people or infested with bandits. This sacred account must not be narrated in the house of a cunning person. Men who are reciting this account must stop the account for 1 muhurta at midway, for performing ablutions and releasing urine and excrement. On the day before the discourse, the narrator must shave himself. As long as the discourse is going on, he must make efforts to undertake his Nitya Karma 79 briefly. Following the prescribed norms, by the side of the narrator, there must be another person who will help him. This other person must be learned and must be capable of dispelling the doubts of people. So as to remove impediments to the narration, Gananath must be worshipped first. 80. The Lord of the narration, Shiva, and specifically the text, 81, must also be worshipped. The account of Shiva Purana must be listened to, full of love and attentiveness. The listener must follow the norms and be pure. He must be pure in mind and pleasant in heart. If the narrator or the listener is distracted by many other things, succumbs to kama and the 6 vices, 82 is addicted to women or is a heretic. 83, there will be no good merits. If one listens to the account with a pure mind and heart, casting aside ordinary thoughts of wealth, homes, and sons, one will obtain excellent fruits. Listeners who are full of faith and devotion, not desiring many other tasks, and those who are pure and restrained in speech, obtain good merits. The worst among men listen to this account without devotion. Such listeners do not obtain any fruits. Instead, birth after birth, they suffer hardships. Those who listen to the account without worshipping the Purana, according to the means they can afford, are fools. They remain poor and are not purified. When the narration is going on, men who show disrespect to the narration and go elsewhere are men whose wealth and wives are destroyed even as they are enjoying them. Men who listen to this account with their headdresses on their heads are men who give birth to evil sons who defile their lineage. In the case of men who chew on betel leaves while the narration is going on, when they die, Yama's servants make them eat their own excrement in hell. In the case of men who listen to this narration while seated on a lofty seat, after suffering in hell, they are born as crows. In the case of men who listen to this narration while seated in Virasana 84 and other similar postures, after all the suffering in hell, they are born as poisonous trees. In the case of men who listen to this narration without honoring the narrator first, after all the suffering in hell, they are born as Arjuna trees. In the case of men who listen to this account while lying down, even if they are not sick, after all the suffering in hell, they are born as Ajagaras 86 and similar species. In the case of men who listen to this account while seated at the same level as the narrator, they commit a sin equal to that of a person who violates his guru's bed. Such people always go to hell. Those who criticize the narrator in the course of this extremely purifying account are born as dogs. They suffer miseries in hundreds of inauspicious births. Those who engage in futile debating while the narration is going on suffer terrible hardships in hell and are born as donkeys. Those who rarely listen to this purifying narration while it is going on suffer terrible hardships in hell and are born as pigs. 87 wicked people who cause obstructions while this narration is going on enjoy terrible hardships in hell for 1 crore years and are born as village pigs. Reflecting on this, a listener must be pure in his Atman and show great reverence towards the narrator. Because of these reasons, he must be intelligent enough to lovingly listen to the narration. To remove all impediments, Ganesha must be worshipped at the start. Every day, at the end, there must be a brief rite of Prayashchitta. 88 Navagrahas and Bhadradevas must always be worshipped. 89. Following the norms used for worshipping Shiva, the text must be worshipped. The text is like the form of Shiva himself. At the end of the worship, humbly joining one's hands in salutation, the text must be praised. The illustrious Shiva Purana is like Maheshvara himself. For the sake of hearing, I accepted you. Please be satisfied with me. Your task is to bring my wishes to fruition. Let my hearing of this account be completed without any impediments. I am immersed in this world, which is like an ocean, and am distressed. Please save me from the world that is an ocean. In the form of crocodiles, my limbs have been seized by karma. O Shankara, I am your servant. The Shiva Purana is like Shiva's form himself. In this way, with pitiful words, he must praise it. He must then worship the narrator. Following the norms for worshipping Shiva, he must worship the narrator with flowers, garments, ornaments, incense, lamps, and other things. In front of him, with a pure mind, he should observe all the rituals, and until the end of the narration, he must attentively follow them, to the best of his capacity. Your form is like that of Vyasa. You are foremost among those who enlighten. You are accomplished in texts about Shiva. Through the light from this narration, please destroy my lack of jnana. To perform japa of the Shiva Pancharana mantra, he must always devotedly invite 5 excellent brahmanas, or at least 1 brahmana. 90 O Sage, I have thus described the rules for listening to the narration with devotion, for listeners as well as for devotees. What else do you wish to hear?